everyone, welcome back. Today I am here with a spoiler-free review of the entire Realm of the Elderlings series by Robin Hobb. This legendary epic fantasy series is made up of 5 smaller series that follow different characters and take place in different parts of the world, but start to interweave as the series go along, creating a larger overall story arc. If you don't have time to watch this entire review, TLDW, I love them all, please go pick them up immediately. Also, before you ask, the specific cover version that I have on my shelf here, I often get asked about. These are the UK Harper Voyager paperbacks, and I got all of mine from Book Depository. First up in this series is the Farseer trilogy, which consists of Assassin's Apprentice, Royal Assassin, and Assassin's Quest. As a bonus, Assassin's Apprentice is also available in this gorgeous hardcover illustrated edition from Del Rey. The Farseer trilogy is all written in a first-person point of view from the perspective of Fitz Chivalry Farseer, also known as Fitz, who is the bastard son of Prince Chivalry, heir to the kingdom of the Six Duchies. When the books begin, a very young Fitz has been given over to the keeping of the royal stable master, where he is ostensibly going to grow up working in said stables. However, the king, aka Fitz's grandfather, has other plans for the boy, and he soon finds himself being trained as, you guessed it, a royal assassin. This trilogy is very much a coming-of-age story, which admittedly is overdone in epic fantasy, but it's a trope that I personally really enjoy. This trilogy gives us our first exposure to the Elderlings, for which the entire series of series is named. We also have our first encounters with the magic systems within this world. The Elderlings admittedly sort of have their own mysterious magic system, so that's sort of its own, but there are 2 primary magic systems that we see in the Farseer trilogy. One of them is the skill, which is basically a telepathic system. One skill user can communicate with another, even if you're far away, you just kind of talk in your mind. You can also send suggestions to your enemy to go the wrong way or attack your own people, etc., etc. So it is a very useful bit of magic. It's also considered very prestigious. The royal family is known for having talent with the skill, and it's something that is deeply celebrated should you find that you are a skill user. The other magic system is called the wit, and this one is my favorite for obvious reasons, and that is you can connect with animals, you can listen to animals and talk with them, and people will be wit bonded with one particular animal, which is basically just like a deep commitment that you make where you connect to each other and you're able to go into each other's thoughts to really feel the experiences that the other one is having. And by being wit bonded, you are basically committed to live together and work together, and it's just this really beautiful thing that I think any pet owner or animal lover can appreciate. But in this world, people are very fearful of the wit and those who have it, and if you are outed as being witted, you can be killed just for that. It's deeply discriminated against, so people who have the wit are keeping it on the DL. In these books, we also encounter the character of the Fool, who is a court jester, but clearly so much more. He is very mysterious and becomes a friend of Fitz and a central character throughout the series. There are several points in these books where you may get annoyed with Fitz. I definitely did. I don't think any Fitz series is complete without at least one moment of asking Fitz why. Why? Moving right along, we have the Live Ship Traders trilogy, which is made up of Ship of Magic, The Mad Ship, and Ship of Destiny. This trilogy takes place in a different part of the world from the Farseer trilogy, and in fact there are only a few references to the events in those books. If you really wanted to, you could read the Live Ship Traders trilogy without reading the Farseer trilogy. However, if you want to read the rest of the trilogies, you would need to go back and read Farseer anyway, so those ones make sense. Unlike Farseer, this trilogy alternates between the perspectives of several different characters. While I'm personally a huge fan of a first-person perspective, and I think Hobb does a really good job of writing first-person, I think she really shines in this style of alternating perspectives because The thing that is so magical about Hobb's writing to me is the way that she's able to take these different strands and work them slowly together so that you don't realize the tapestry that's being woven until suddenly it is just there in front of you and it's beautiful, and how did you not see it before? And these books really capture that. The Lifeship Traders trilogy begins in a city called Bingtown, which is a trading port full of families that have been there for generations and which own these magical living ships. Like the masthead person actually can move around, can talk, has memories, etc. And these ships have just been passed down through generations within the same family. What's important about these ships is that they are made from a special wood that is able to withstand the highly acidic waters in this area called the Rain Wilds. And the Rain Wilds were once home to the Elderlings, the legendary Elderlings. So there are ancient Elderling ruins in there that have these highly valuable trinkets and talismans that once belonged and were imbued with special abilities by these mysterious magical beings. And the Bingtown traders can take their live ships up into those waters, can get those goods, can trade them, and so thus the booming economy of Bingtown was created. While we meet several of these Bingtown families, the best one by far and the one that gets the most attention throughout the books is the Vestrit family. And let me just fangirl for a minute, y'all, because I love the Vestrits. They are full of these amazing, strong, independent, fierce, just boss lady energy everywhere women who just go out and save the world, save the day. They are amazing. Yeah, they are some of my favorite characters from the entirety of this series of series. So good. But of course, this trilogy introduces us to much more than just the amazing Vestrit family. We learn a lot more about the history of the Elderlings, we learn about the history of dragons in this world, and we also learn a bit more about the different nations and peoples within this world and the various political goings-on among them. And finally, just a side note, the Lifeship Traders trilogy is hands down my favorite trilogy within the Realm of the Elderlings series. Next up, we have the Tawny Man trilogy, which is made up of Fool's Errand, The Golden Fool, and Fool's Fate. This trilogy returns to Fitz's story and is once again in first person. In fact, these books are written in the I'm an old man retelling my story at the end of my life kind of style. This trilogy picks up, I think, about 15 years after the events of the Farseer trilogy. Due to those events, Fitz has been in self-imposed exile since the end of that trilogy. But as the Tawny Man trilogy starts up, fate pushes Fitz to begrudgingly return to court and the life he left behind. This may be a bit obvious due to the titles of these books, but the Fool and his connection to Fitz play a big role in this trilogy. This was one of the more difficult trilogies for me because a lot of heart-wrenching things happen in here, folks. No spoilers, but just stock up on tissues before you dive into these. The events and characters from the Lifeship Traders trilogy do pop up in these books, but they aren't as central to the plot. It's also worth noting that Fitz made me really, really mad in this series, but I was satisfied with the way the trilogy ended. Then we have the penultimate series and the only non-trilogy, the Rainwild Chronicles. This is made up of Dragon Keeper, Dragon Haven, City of Dragons, and Blood of Dragons. Besides the fact that this is not a trilogy, you might also notice the books in this series are quite a bit shorter than the others, perhaps save the very first book. From what I've gleaned online, apparently Hobb intended Dragon Keeper to be a standalone novel in the series. However, the manuscript began getting too long, and her editors advised her to break it up into 2 novels. When she later decided to write a sequel novel, a similarly long manuscript was once again broken up into 2 books. Hence the 4-book series. Learning that this story was sort of portioned out in a way it wasn't intended honestly makes sense because these were the only books in the entire series that I really struggled with pace-wise. For as short as these books are, there was a lot of recapping that kept having to be done to explain not only what's already happened within the Rainwild Chronicles, but also just what's happened in the entirety of the Realm of the Elderlings series. And there was so much rehashing and so much recapping that I felt like the wheels were spinning and we were staying in place and we weren't moving forward with the plot or the struggles that were going on amidst these characters. So honestly, that was getting a little frustrating at times, and I can see why the decision was made to make them into smaller books, but I think I personally would have enjoyed just having like a 1,500-page novel that had one ongoing story with all the good bits in there. Structure aside, the story within these books is great. The first book picks up back in Bingtown. I think it's been another 10 years or so since the end of the Lightship Traders trilogy. This time, however, we're following a new set of Bingtown characters, and as the name of this series implies, we make our way into the Rainwilds, where we learn much, much more about dragons and their history in this world and their relationship to the Elderlings. Several characters from the Lightship Traders trilogy do make their way into this series, and overall I felt like these books did a great job of fleshing out and stringing together the little bits of history and lore that we'd gotten prior into something that's a bit more cohesive and that's starting to make more sense. Story-wise, I was actually really happy with the way this series ended, but the writing itself felt a bit rushed at the end. I would have happily read another 100 pages at the end of it to really draw out and relish the way that the story ended and the climax of all the adventure that we were going on here, but it felt just kind of abrupt, and so that's one strike against it, I guess, for me. As you can probably tell, this was my least series within the overall series, but that being said, I think I still gave every book at least 3 or 4 stars. I loved the new characters, and I did really appreciate the additional world building that came from this series. And finally, we have the Fitz and the Fool trilogy, which is made up of Fool's Assassin, Fool's Quest, and Assassin's Fate. Once again, as the titles imply, we are back to Fitz's story, and basically the entire plotline is revolving around the Fool and those lingering mysteries and questions that were brought up in the Tawny Man trilogy. Unlike the previous Fitz books, this trilogy alternates between multiple perspectives, but it mainly follows Fitz as well as a new character named Bee, who I absolutely adore. These books bring together elements from all of the previous trilogies, and we reunite with characters from all of them as well. Here we travel to a different part of the world called Claris, and our characters risk life and limb to save their loved ones, to seek vengeance for some ancient wrongdoings, and to change the fate of the world. This trilogy also necessitates having a hanky nearby. This is supposedly the final trilogy in the series. There's of course always a chance that Hobb will decide to come back to this world and write some more, but should it actually be the end, I can say that I'm satisfied with the way things were left. In a fantastical world with so much lore and lost history, Hobb did a wonderful job of slowly filling in those details and weaving this magnificent tapestry together. As the series comes to a close, there are still some pieces that aren't fully explained. While I would love another book or 3 to come out that dives into those pieces specifically and builds the world out even more, it doesn't feel unfinished to have those mysteries remain. It feels okay. Overall, Hobb's writing is just really something special. She's one of the very few authors who could spend 100 pages describing one person, and I would eat up every word of it. Beyond her wordsmithing talents, her world building, her character development, and her plot weaving are truly breathtaking. I get emotional reactions to her timing. The way she sets us up with seemingly unrelated stories that then either come crashing together at a dramatic moment or that subtly click into place and my mind just blows up when the meaning sinks in. Then with her characters, I have never disliked a character more than Prince Regal from the first trilogy. That is until I met Kyle Haven in the second trilogy. She has characters like Paragon the Life Ship and Kenneth the Pirate King who are just unbelievably complex. And meanwhile, we have members of the aforementioned Vestrit family like Althea and Malta who are so wonderful that my fiance Jess and I have actually decided to take the surname Vestrit when we get married. The Realm of the Elderlings series has quickly become my favorite fantasy series, and it's one that I know I'm going to revisit for years to come. Let me know down in the comments if you've read this series and what you think about it. Are you working through it? Are you thinking of working through it? Let's discuss all the things, and thank you so much for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you'd like to see more. I hope you all are having a fabulous week so far, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!